Hi everyone, Lizzie Marie here with Sparrow's Nest. Today I'm going to be teaching you how you can take a simple piece of pallet board and transform it into a measuring cup holder and a measuring spoon holder for your kitchen. The first thing that you're going to need is a piece of pallet wood. Now I collect pallet boards, so I always have pallets laying around. Now if you can't get your hands on a piece of pallet wood, you can go to the hardware store and you can just ask an employee if they can direct you to a piece of wood that looks similar to a piece of pallet board, and they should be able to direct you to something that is similar to a piece of pallet board, and I'm pretty sure that they can cut it for you. Now I cut this piece of pallet wood to 12 inches in length, and that seems to be the perfect size to hold my measuring cups and my measuring spoons. Now I always stain all my pieces of pallet board in preparation for applying chalk paint over them. How I stain my pallet boards is I use this Valspar antiquing glaze. I found this at Lowe's for about $11. I noticed that a lot of blogs will actually tell you to mix your own glaze or stain, and that usually involves about 2 or 3 products. Now I would rather just use one product. That leaves a lot less steps for me to do, and I like less steps. So I'm going to stick with this. Now I'm going to give you a tip that I learned the hard way. Whenever you stain or glaze a board, you're going to usually use a paper towel or a rag to wipe the excess off the wood. Whenever I've used a rag or a paper towel, it tends to leave like this excess bits of paper towel or rag in my wood, and it's just really unsightly and it's really hard to get out. What I started using were these professional white rag paper towels. These are so great because they do not leave any excess stuff in your wood when you're wiping off your wood. In this video, I'm also going to be showing you the stencil method that I started using when I first started working with wood. This is the easiest and cheapest way that I have found to stencil on wood. All it requires is a piece of printed out paper with your design that you want to stencil on your piece of wood, a pastel, and a ballpoint pen. Now what you're going to do is you're going to take your piece of paper, you're going to take your pastel, you're going to rub it on the entire back of your piece of paper. You're going to take your printed design with the pastel rubbed on the back, you're going to tape it to your piece of wood. You're going to take your ballpoint pen, and what you're going to do is you're going to trace your design with this ballpoint pen. Now what this is going to do is it's going to transfer this pastel onto your piece of wood, and it's going to leave a stenciled guideline on your wood for you to paint. Now the last thing that I'm going to go over that I've gone over in a couple other videos is how you're going to select the right drill bit for your drill. Going to look at the circumference of your hook, and you want to find a drill bit that's just a little bit smaller than the circumference of this hook. The drill bit that I use for these specific hooks is a 1/8 drill bit. Alright guys, well I think I've covered the tips and basics for this project. So let's get to the hands-on part on making your measuring cups and your measuring spoon organizers. And before you do anything else, please give my video a big thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. Now you want to lightly sand the wood to remove any rough edges or splinters. After sanding the wood, you want to wipe down the wood with a damp paper towel to clean the wood. I always stain my pallets a dark brown so that when I put that paint over it, it kind of creates this nice dark rustic look to it. After you've covered the whole pallet with the glaze, you're going to want to wipe off the excess glaze with a paper towel. Allow the glaze to dry on the wood for 2 to 3 hours. Once the glaze is dry, you're ready to apply the chalk paint. The chalk paint that I use is homemade, and the link to my DIY chalk paint video is included in the descriptions below. Apply 1 layer of chalk paint to your pallet board. You're going to repeat this for your second pallet board also. The next step you can either do or you can skip. I do this step to create a nice rustic antique look on my palette board. So to create that rustic look, I'm going to use a sanding sponge to gently remove some of that paint, allowing that underlying wood to show through with an emphasis on the edges. Alright, next you're going to get out your pieces of printed paper with your design on it. You're going to take your pastel and you're going to rub it on the back of that piece of paper, covering it completely. Then you want to place that piece of paper onto your wood, and I use painter's tape to tape down the paper to my wood so that it doesn't move when I'm tracing it. You're going to use a ballpoint pen to trace the design, pressing down firmly. You're going to remove the piece of paper and you're going to see that that pastel has transferred that design onto your wood. Now with a paintbrush, you're going to fill in that stenciled guideline. Once you have your design painted on the palette wood the way that you want it, you want to allow 2 to 3 hours for this paint to dry completely. Now this next step, you can skip if you want. I like to do this step. It's called glazing, and it's going to create a nice antique rustic look. So you want to dip your foam brush in the antiquing glaze, then in the water, and you're just going to apply that on the top of the palette. As soon as that glaze is applied, you want to immediately take a white rag paper towel and wipe the glaze off. What it's going to do, it's going to fill in all the crevices, and it's just going to create a nice extra depth to that piece of wood. You want to allow the glaze to dry for about 1 to 2 hours before you put your polyacrylic protective finish on it. After the glaze has dried on both of your pieces, you want to apply 1 coat of polyacrylic protective finish. Allow the polyacrylic protective finish to dry for about 12 hours. After your polyacrylic protective finish has dried, you are ready to install those hooks onto the bottom of your palette board. Once you have your hook placement, you're going to use a chalk marker and you're going to mark on the bottom of that palette board. This will be the guideline for drilling your holes. Now you can drill into the bottom of the palette where you made your markings. You want to drill about the length or a little less than the length of the screw part of that hook. Once you have your drilled holes, you can screw your hooks into those drilled holes. The last step you're going to do is you're going to install your 2 sawtooth picture backings on the back of the palette board. You want to drill only about 1/4 the length of the nails that come with the sawtooth picture backings. You're going to hammer the rest of the nail in to ensure that it doesn't fall out. And once you are done with that, this piece is complete. Thank you so much for tuning in to the Sparrow's Nest, and I'll catch you next time for more DIY projects.